Here we go, making Billy on, getting icy zone, flexing, I've been swerving.
Hey guys, welcome to the channel. This is Corey with Full House MMA with another fight breakdown, another main event fight breakdown. We have a battle between Rafael dos Anjos against Rafael Fiziev. And this is coming up February the 19th is when this fight is happening. Dos Anjos, who is 30-13 in his MMA career. This man has 43 fights. His last win over Paul Felder, Kevin Lee, Robbie Lawler, Neil Magny, Tariq Safandine. I mean, this guy's win list just goes on and on. He has a win over two wins over Donald Cerrone, Anthony Pettis, Nate Diaz. Rafael dos Anjos is a very, very experienced fighter, and more importantly, a very, very experienced grappler. He has a nice overhand right. The thing I've noticed about him is he has a very in-your-face, march-you-down sort of fighting style. A lot of times he's throwing with the intent of getting his opponent to shell up so that he can then duck under the arms and shoot for the double leg, push his opponent against the fence, suck in those hips and put their backs on the mat for either a ground and pound finish or a submission attempt. So what you have is a guy in Rafael dos Anjos with a lot of experience, like I said, 43 fights in his MMA career, against a relatively newcomer to MMA in Rafael Fiziev. Now, Fiziev, I'm a huge fan of this guy. If you're a fan of an entertaining style, the stand-up striking war, legs, body, head, this guy's all over the place and very, very precise. He actually fights out of Thailand, where he hails from, where he trains at, and it shows in his fighting style. He definitely has a very, very strong Muay Thai element to his game, does Fiziev. Fiziev has a record of 11-1. I'm going to also read out some of his last few fights. His only loss in the UFC is to Magomed Mustaev, and since then he's on a 5-fight winning streak, and that includes wins over Alex White, Mark Diakase, Renato Moicano, Bobby Green. That's a huge win. And then his most recent win, of course, over Brad Riddell. He's got a few decisions in there, but he also has 2 wins by KO or TKO. So no secret what Fiziev is wanting to do in this fight. He's going to want to keep dos Anjos at a distance. He's going to try to stay on his bicycle, circling, moving his lateral movement, and try his best to remain on the outside and use his superior and technical striking against dos Anjos. And I do think if he's able to keep the fight in that realm, then there's a good chance that he's going to win this fight. However, you hear me beat the pavement all the time about these matchups between guys who are wanting to keep it on the feet and then the guys who are wanting to wrestle. Now, don't get this twisted. Dos Anjos is a very game striker, and he's a very game opponent on his feet. But he's the kind of guy that's going to be looking to crush that space between himself and Fiziev, because Fiziev, on the contrary, is the kind of guy that's going to need some space to do his work. He's the guy that wants to stay on the outside, the very outside of his range, and set up his kicks. It's a chess match for him. He's wanting to set up his kicks, get dos Anjos thinking high, then he's going to go low. Once he's thinking low, then he's going to go high. It's a chess match, this striking game for Fiziev, and he has a lot of experience with that. And I would definitely give the technical striking, I would give Fiziev that edge for sure. And dos Anjos knows that. 43 total MMA fights, plus all the sparring and training he's been doing for all these years as well. He's going to understand, I think, in terms of his fight IQ, that he's up against a sharpshooter. He's up against a guy who is a very high-level striker, and I do believe that Dos Anjos, in spite of being a good striker himself, I think really in this fight he's only going to be using his striking really as kind of a decoy to get into the legs, to get into the body of Fiziev, crowd him, crush the space so that Fiziev can't stay on the outside and land those crisp shots. And I think he's going to be trying to push him up against the fence or just shoot from the outside and get a takedown on Fiziev to try to stifle that really crisp sound stand-up attack that Fiziev possesses. So that's what I think is going to be the game plan for each of these guys. Who do I think is going to win the fight? I believe I'm going to have to go with Dos Anjos. He is just way too experienced in this fight game. I think he's going to somewhat expose some holes in Fiziev's game. Again, Fiziev is only 11-1 in his MMA career. And don't get me wrong, you never know how much time these guys have put into their craft behind the scenes. So a lot of times, 11-1 can be somewhat deceiving, because that doesn't sound like a lot of fights. But then every time they step into the octagon, they show up and show out like they've been doing this for 20, 30 years. So I'm not necessarily saying because Fiziev is 11-1, that's why he's going to lose to Dos Anjos. But I am saying that I think Dos Anjos is going to know what he's up against. I think he's going to use his striking as like a touch sort of decoy to get Fiziev on the defensive. And as soon as Fiziev, gets on the defensive, puts his hands up, I see Dos Anjos ducking up under him, trying to get to that body. And at that point, the real question is, how good is Fiziev's takedown defense? We've seen a little bit of it in his fights. Most of the fights I've seen with him, he's been with guys who are content to stand with him. By example, Bobby Green, Brad Riddell, both of those guys were content to stand with Fiziev, which, in my opinion, ended up being their demise. The fight with Bobby Green and Fiziev was a very close fight. Bobby Green is a great stand-up fighter and boxer in his own right, very slick, very savvy. But nonetheless, most of those guys were content to stand up with Fiziev and try out their odds there. Dos Anjos is a former title holder, has a ton of experience in this game. I don't see him being too proud to understand when he's possibly outmatched in a certain area, and I see him going in, ducking up under one of Fiziev's shots or ducking up under his arms. Like I said, get him to lift his arms up. As soon as Fiziev does that to defend himself, shooting up under, taking Fiziev down and trying to control him up against the fence or possibly take him down and control him there, looking for maybe a ground and pound TKO finish, possibly a choke or some sort of submission. As far as Fiziev's ground game, most of these guys who come into MMA, just because they're mainly stand-up fighters, this does not mean that they do not have an adequate ground game. Fiziev's ground game may be very adequate, and he may prove it in the fight against Dos Anjos, and Dos Anjos may have a lot of trouble taking Fiziev down, but it just kind of remains to be seen, because what we've seen from Fiziev so far are stand-up fights, stand-up chess matches with other fighters who were content to deliver that same sort of stand-up fight with him, and we're more than happy to engage in those stand-up exchanges. So I don't think Dos Anjos is going to be able to do that. A lot of Dos Anjos fights do go to a decision, just like his last one with Paul Felder. But that was a perfect example. Paul Felder, he's a great stand-up guy, really good with his kickboxing and his striking, precise striking. And Dos Anjos was hell for Paul Felder that night. He was just in his face the whole time, not giving him a second to breathe, not giving him space to set up his strikes, crushing that space in between the two, and just making it a grimy, dirty grappling match. And that's pretty much what I see happening here. I anticipate that Fiziev will be 11-2 after this match. He may surprise me. you never know. And if he does surprise me, then I love surprises. I think it'd be awesome. And like I said, I'm a big fan of these really exciting, striking style fighters anyway. So, you know, I'll be looking forward to the fight either way. I hope you check it out too. It is on February the 19th. This is going to be a banger. You're not going to want to miss this. And what's even better, this is a fight night. So it's free. Please subscribe to the channel so you can get notifications when I post a new video. And I will see you next time. Thanks, guys. Peace.
Making really on, getting icy zone, flexing, I've been sorbing, make it trendy.